What up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube. This is Tyler Wheat from Team Pro Physique. Today we're going to talk about sodium intake. Alright guys, so sodium intake. So another one of those quite heavily debated, controversial topics when it comes to discussing someone's health and what people typically think that they need to do to live a healthier lifestyle. Sodium has definitely been, talked about and associated with, high rises in blood pressure, hypertension, heart issues, stuff like that. And so a typical recommendation is for people to decrease their salt intake. So you do hear that a lot, but is that actually true? And I think if you actually do then look at some of the studies, and a higher sodium salt intake is actually really associated with an overall pretty bad diet or nutrient intake. You're going to see a lot of people who have quite higher intakes have, just they're consuming a lot more calories than maybe they should. A lot more refined foods, right? So we're not getting those whole nutrient dense foods. So you're going to see a lot of that. And I think what we have gathered over the last few years, it's typically not just one thing that is contributing to someone's overall health. It's going to be typically what you see is it's going to be the higher calories and just consuming too much food overall, and not necessarily what they're consuming. Especially as an athlete, if you're training hard, you want to be watching that sodium intake. You're going to want to make sure that we're consuming enough sodium to make sure that we're, bringing fluid into the cells. We are getting great muscle contractions and stuff like that. And you know what? The body will self-regulate. The kidneys. We don't need detoxes, we don't need cleanses. We've got a body that is going to kind of help detox that and balance the body out, right? So if you increase your sodium intake, those kidneys are going to secrete more sodium the next day, and it'll try and bring it back down to what a normal level is for the body. So whatever the body's used to consuming. So the body is great at self-regulating. You're not going to be in any way hurt health-wise if we're consuming more sodium, especially as an athlete who's training really hard. I actually have started to work in increasing my sodium intake. So kind of what bouillon cubes, they're really good. You just drop a couple into some hot water, boil them, and it's an easy way to maybe increase that sodium if you feel that you need to. We just want to make sure that we are getting enough water intake, but that's kind of go hand in hand with each other. The more sodium that you're intaking, the more thirsty you're going to be. So the kidneys can secrete more sodium, and back and forth. So you're going to be okay. So now there is a small percent of the population who might be salt sensitive, and so they do need to watch their salt intake. Basically, the kidneys won't really secrete the extra sodium, and so they do need to follow the recommendations for sodium intake. But for most of the population, especially if you're an athlete, I would not worry about your sodium intake. You can always look to increase it if you want. I know I have. So yeah, that is kind of the lowdown on sodium intake. So again, don't worry about it health-wise. You're going to be okay as long as you're not over-consuming calories or you're not salt-sensitive. So that is everything for today, guys. Hit subscribe. Leave questions. Leave comments. Love to hear from you. Shoot me an email if you want. Tyler@prophysique.com. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great Monday.